in Calabasas Park, and my office is in Sherman Oaks, so getting downtown is somewhat of a treat.
Yeah, well, except for the traffic, of course. That's no fun.
Of course.
You had a very special role to fill with the making of this movie. The look of the constructs are so important, and you specialize in eyes. Tell us a little bit about sort of what brought you to that.
Well, with this movie, Michael Crichton wanted something to show who were the robots and who were the ordinary people, and he needed a trigger. And we decided that that trigger should be eyes that looked like ball bearings. So this was quite a challenge for us, since we'd only done this once before, about 4 years before, in the movie Camelot. The character that played Merlin the magician had mirrored eyes, and they took advantage of this for great cinematic effect. And we thought we could do the same thing for Westworld. And Michael, being very scientifically oriented, thought it was a great idea. So we had to fit Yul Brynner with hard lenses, because soft lenses would not accept the kind of treatment that would give you a clean mirror. So we fitted him with hard lenses. He flew in from Paris, I remember very vividly, and we fitted him, and he got on the plane and went back to Paris. And mirroring the contact lenses was quite a technical feat, because you've all seen the mirrored ski sunglasses, and that's done with a large vacuum chamber, and the lenses are put in the vacuum chamber, and then the material to be coated onto the lens is evaporated onto the lens. And in order to do it with a contact lens, you had to take a whole bell jar out of production and put a couple of tiny little contact lenses in there, and it was a rather expensive process. The other problem was that the mirror coating was not terribly stable, and so that after the lenses had been used a few times, the mirror coating started to lose its sheen, and we had to replace the lenses with clean lenses. So I think that the effect that we got was fantastic, and it's one of my favorite movies.
You know, you worked on a number of movies. With your practice, tell us a little bit about your practice.
Well, I came to Sherman Oaks in 1954. I practiced with my father in Beverly Hills for a couple of years, and he was the first one to use a contact lens for a special effect in a movie. And he was not particularly interested in dealing with the studios. And I had started out to become a cinema photographer, worked at Fox for a little while, decided that it was too political for me, and became an optometrist and took over the cosmetic contact lens part of the practice. So one of the first movies I did was Elvis Presley for his movie Flaming Star, in which he played a son of a Kiowa Indian and a rancher, and we had to change his eyes from blue to brown. And then, of course, my most famous transformation was for Michael Jackson in Thriller, which I did with Rick Baker, and they show that every Halloween, and my grandchildren look at it and say, "Oh, look, there's Grandpa."
How do you feel about that? Yeah, that must be an unusual sensation.
Well, I'll tell you how I feel about that. I was in a delicatessen the other day, and I saw a guy with a t-shirt, and the t-shirt had a dinosaur on it, and it said, "All my friends are dead."
I think it's a little melancholy. It's a little bittersweet, don't you think? I don't know. Let's just move on to, so Elvis, Yul Brynner, those are some extraordinary, Michael Jackson, I mean.
The Incredible Hulk is another one that the
CBS series.
Yeah, the CBS series, I think the producer's name was Johnson, Ken Johnson, and he came to me and said, we have to have something that is a visual trigger when Dr. Banner turns into the Hulk. And we thought maybe white lenses, and then he said maybe white lenses with a green ring that reflects the body makeup of the Hulk. So that's what ultimately we did, and I was invited to Universal for the screening of the first episode, and I said to my wife, this will never go. just goes to show you. And it became very, very popular.
Sure, great theme song too.
Yeah.
Great theme song. Of all the stars that you've worked with, or the different projects that you've worked on, who was, not to jab anybody in the eye, but who was the most difficult to work with, either because of their sensitivity or maybe because of the demands of the
Well, I don't even have to think twice to answer that. It was Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson came into the office with his director, and
Monkey? I thought you were going to say monkey. I swear I
no.
know.
And the director holds up a little bag and he says, Michael, this is Dr. Greenspoon, and if you do everything he says, I have a surprise for you. And Michael goes, oh, what's the surprise? And he opens it up, and here was like a cherry tart. And so Michael was very childlike, and he was rather difficult to work with, and very sensitive. And his comment after the big shoot at Griffith Park, when they did the finale to Thriller, was, gee, those contact lenses burned like Tabasco sauce. So that made me feel really, really good.
You're a funny guy. Yul Brynner, you think of just his presence on stage, on screen, on planet Earth. He's just had this imperious, powerful, masterful way about him. Is that the case also face-to-face?
Yes, he flew in from Paris, and we tried some lenses on him, and I took some pictures, and he said, if these pictures ever get out into publicity, he says, I'll really sue you to the ends of the earth. Mm-hmm. So he was very professional about what he did, and he knew what he wanted, and as long as he went along with the way he wanted to do it, it was fine.
You had a little Tabasco there?
Yeah. No, he took to the lenses without any problem. And when we did Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze in Batman, he took to the lenses very well. But then we had some other people that didn't take to the lenses very well, and then soft lenses came into being, and soft lenses were a much easier gig for the actors and actresses.
And just all told, how many films, feature films, would you say that you?
I haven't counted them all up because the filmography is on our website. There's probably around 300, and starting back in the late 50s.
That's great. With the Jimmy Stewart film?
My first film was changing Deborah Paget's eyes from blue to brown so she could play the part of an Indian maiden in this Jimmy Stewart film. And then she wore those lenses in several other films. She was in The Ten Commandments. She played opposite Edward G. Robinson as a slave girl. And in fact, she wore those lenses for so many biblical movies that we named that color Biblical Brown.
It's better than Tabasco Red.
Right.
Nice. And that's really interesting. What's the most recent film that you worked with?
Well, the last film that I worked on personally, I have two partners, Dr. Stacy Sumner and Dr. Rick Silver, and Stacy's pretty well taken over the special effects contact lenses. So the last picture that I really worked hands-on was Bram Stoker's Dracula. And we're very, very proud of that because Greg Canham won the Academy Award for makeup for that, and he was nice enough in getting the award to thank me personally. So
nice.
Because when Greg first became a makeup artist, I said, Greg, you got a lot of talent. Someday you're going to really make it big. And when you do, I want you to thank me. So
You should have held out for money.
no,
That's great.
So he says, I want to thank Dr. Greenspoon, which I thought was very, very nice of him.
It was nice. Yeah. Did it bring a tear to your eye?
Yeah.
That's a great job. Okay. And one last thing. Michael Crichton, you mentioned his scientific background, obviously. Did you work quite a lot? What was that rapport like, and how important was your shared background in all things science?
Yes, well, Michael Crichton and I really hit it off. He was a Harvard-trained physician, and we more or less spoke the same language. And when it came to what we're going to use for a trigger for Westworld, he agreed that the ball bearing look was the best way to go, and that was it.
That's great. Well, I imagine most of the people in this audience have seen the film, but there might be a few here who haven't. Is there anyone here who hasn't seen it yet? No. Okay, yeah. Is there a part of the film that you really like, or?
Yeah, well, I was able. Michael Crichton was nice enough to let me sort of direct one scene and set the lighting, etc. And it's the scene where Yul Brynner is walking down the hall, and we set lights up on the ceiling, so every time he passed a light, his eyes would flash. And then Richard Benjamin has a beaker of acid, which he throws in his face. And then you can see the smoke coming up, and you can see the two eyes through the smoke. And I thought it was a very effective scene.
That's fantastic. Well, nice work there, filmmaker.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me thank Dr. Greenspoon for joining us. And we're going to watch Westworld and then be back with Richard Benjamin. So thanks, everybody.